Chapter 39. What is dead may never die. The sound of work and organization greeted me before my eyes opened. I was in a room made of stone, laying in a comfortable bed plush with blankets and feather-down pillows. Morning sun crept high in through the windows. I groaned and sat up, rubbing at my eyes. I felt completely depleted. Whatever had happened after my attempt to save the people who had been linked to Seven through the Night King's powers had obviously drained me of enough energy to knock me out. I heard something stirring off to the side when Alan's voice called out, "She's awake!" It seemed I made a habit of passing out for one reason or another in every reincarnation so far. At least this time, it had been in the service of trying to save people. I turned in time to see Alan, Tyrion, Jaime, Ned, Father, and John rushing over to the bed. My eyelids felt heavy, and my head threatened to drop down as exhaustion still had its hold on me. I offered them all as reassuring a smile as I could muster. "I apologize. I think I put too much effort into my magic, and that made me pass out. And what magic it was, my dear." Tyrion smiled as he took my hand and kissed it. "You know, saved so many people." "Thanks to Alan's help," I replied as I looked up at Alan's grinning face. "I probably wouldn't have been able to do it without you." "Sure you would have," he shook his head. "All I did was help steady the flow. But I should thank you. You saved me from Euron's magic. I can't begin to repay you. My girl, are you all right?" Father asked as he gave me a curious look. I smiled and nodded at him. "Fine. Just tired." "Are you certain?" he asked again, pressing the issue. "Your eyes have changed color." "They're green now. They were blue." The others hadn't noticed yet, but I watched as they all focused in on that detail. When I had reincarnated, my eyes had been green originally. But once the Titan had infused me with its power, they turned blue. They had been blue ever since. "That is curious," Ned said contemplatively. "I wouldn't worry about it," Alan said as leaned in closer to give me a closer look. "It's likely a side effect of using all that magic at once." I blinked instinctively as if that would help to solve the problem. Speaking of which, did it work? "How many people were we able to save?" "You," Alan replied, "saved millions of people. Most of them have already left, though keeping so many people in one place would deplete the supplies we had in only a few days," Tyrion explained. "We were lucky that House Martell was willing to escort them back south. It took 2 days to organize everyone into the region to which they belonged and place what lords and ladies were left in charge of their returns. But the storehouses of foods that Lord Tyrell had—" "Did you say 2 days?" I interrupted him. "I've been out for 2 days?" "No, Your Grace," Jaime answered, as everyone else looked at each other awkwardly. "You've been out for 2 months. "What?" I cried out, baffled at the length of time that had passed. 2 months? "In truth, we thought you were dead," Ned nodded. "After you collapsed from your efforts, you had no breath and no pulse. It was Lord Amel who assured us that you would recover. He insisted we bring you somewhere safe and let you rest." I looked up at Alan and smiled thankfully. He had remembered everything I had told him about my adventures in the wasteland. The lesson from Serena's betrayal was taken to heart. The blast from that explosion and the ensuing fall should have killed me. In fact, the first responders had thought I was dead. I had woken up a few hours later, bloody, but unbroken. This time I must have poured my very life essence into the magic I was using to make sure it worked, and the toll must have been either my life, or it had put me into a death-like state. What was unusual was that this time I hadn't been shunted back to Thedas. That was regrettable. Alan shrugged. "I didn't think you'd go through all of that just to fall at the end." "Thank you." I smiled softly. I turned to look at Tyrion. What about the people? Has everyone been able to return home? He gave a sure nod. Yes. Everyone's gone home. The royal army has been tasked with assisting in rebuilding efforts across the 7 kingdoms. Wildlings have volunteered to help grow additional crops to aid with food shortages, with the condition that their people can be allowed to stay, now that the dead have been dealt with. Some have returned home, but many have stayed south of the wall. I'll need you to catch me up on what steps have been taken to help the realm recover while I've been out. I sighed as I realized that I hadn't been the one to help in the aftermath. But for now, I haven't eaten in 2 months. I'd like some breakfast. The rest of the day was spent bringing me up to speed about everything that had happened after I had passed out. During the initial confusion of everyone being brought back to life, Tyrion had taken charge. He was the one who'd had the idea to separate the camp into regional sections. House Martell divided their supplies among these sections, while the remaining supplies from the camp prior to the battle were evenly distributed. Robb have brought supplies south with the forces he'd muster, so from the remaining Daubing northern houses, and donated them to camps as well. What was left of House Martell, Lannister, and Baratheon left 2 days later, leading the survivors south to their homes. House Tyrell had managed to weather the storm somehow, and was mostly intact. They sent food to each kingdom, allowing the remaining nobles to distribute it as they saw fit. There was a considerable effort made by the great houses to focus on rebuilding, as the signs of winter had begun to show themselves. The majority of House Stark had returned to Winterfell, with the other northern nobles going home as well. House Frey was happy to allow Tyrion and I to stay during my internment. Jaime had remained, because Tyrion was the only close family he had left, and had decided that he would stay close until I had recovered, as a way to show him support. While many small lands would begin recovering immediately, one large group of people hadn't even begun the process of heading home yet. The Ironborn remained in the camp, waiting for me to rise from my deathly state. All of them? I asked. My hair had been brushed and braided, and Jaime had ensured that I had a few dresses appropriate for my station waiting for me when I woke. So I was able to dress in a thick black dress with yellow accents, a fur collar, and some jewelry on loan from Jenna. Loan jewelry might normally be considered lowbrow, but Jenna was a Lannister with pride, and she did not skimp on fashion. To a man, Alan nodded, you brought them all back to life. You defeated Euron. As far as they're concerned, you might as well be the drowned god made flesh. To be honest, the drowned god has had a great many conversions after the miracle you accomplished, Tyrion added. The drowned men have been working on converting people for weeks now. I looked at Alan. Could you possibly open a portal to the camp so that I can speak with them? Alan hesitated, his expression twisting to read that I didn't want to hear what he was about to say. If I could, Your Grace, I certainly would. However, I can't cast a single spell anymore. No mage can. It's as if all the magic has been snuffed out of the world. I'm afraid I'm not much of a master of magic any longer. What do you mean? There's no... more... I paused. It took me a few moments, but I finally realized that the exhausted, groggy feeling I had been experiencing all day wasn't fatigue, it was a disconnection from magic. I stood abruptly and called to the magic. Westeros hadn't had a great deal of magic to begin with, not compared to Thedas. Thedas had been a world which had been infused with magic to its very core, an infinite ocean where I could unleash all of my capabilities. Meanwhile, this world's magic had only started to wake up over the past few decades. Compared to Thedas, it was a speck of haze in a morning fog. Had I accidentally used up all of the magic in the world? Was that why I was having so much trouble channeling it into the different spells I needed to save the people of the realm? The change in my eye color suggested as much. I also didn't sense any more of it building back up in the world. Can you still hear me? my thoughts reached out into the world. I can, the deep answered. No matter what happens, no matter where you go, I can always hear you. The magic? I replied hesitantly, not wanting to hear the answer. Gone, as you well know, it replied. Your instincts are correct. You took it all, used it, burned it away like kindling for a few human lives. Millions of lives are a few, I responded curtly. And what I did brought more people to worship you. You got what you wanted. All it cost me was my very nature. The response was a rumble which shook the invisible world around the waking world. It was laughing. What's so funny? You think you are a creature of magic? It asked, its tone almost playful. I know I am, I replied, irritated at its suggestion. You are the source of magic wherever you go, I said. But you are not a creature of magic. You bring magic with you, and if magic is already there, you become the fountain through which it flows. Not because you are a creature of magic, but because you want it to. If that was true, then why is it gone now? Why can't I use it when I want to? I pressed for answers. Because realities only hold so much of any resource, it replied. Some have more, others less. And until you learn your true potential, you will always be bound by a world's limitations. You know more than you're telling me, I said, as I realized that it understood my true nature. You know more than you realize, it countered. You've begun to see it. See what? The truth, it replied simply. You will understand in time. I sighed. You're not being very helpful. Another rumble of amusement. You will understand in time. Focus on what you can do now. The future will come. And, with it, answers. The conversation was an eye blink. Long enough for us to get to the point, but in the living world, it wasn't even a pause in the conversation I was having in the others. I shook my head in frustration with the being and in acceptance that I had made the mistake of burning out all the magic from the world. It's my fault, I told Alan. Worlds only have so much magic until they can start renewing it. I used it all up, trying to save all of those people. I'd say it was worth the loss, Alan shrugged. I may not be able to be master of magic anymore, but me and millions of others are still alive. Tyrion squeezed my hand. There are many who wish to thank you personally, a few of whom wish to continue serving you. Apparently, Euron didn't have the dead kill anyone. They swarmed, overwhelmed, grabbed, and converted. No mess or battle to be had or found. I stood and smiled at him. I'll start by addressing the Ironborn. Then, I'll meet with those who wish to continue serving. After that, we are going to turn Westeros into the mightiest nation in the world. I was escorted to the northern tower of the Twins. Word had spread that I had woken up, and the population of the Iron Island and the masses of new converts of the drowned god were gathered to await my address. To his credit, the new Lord Frey had the foresight to have a small platform raised for me to be able to be seen about the tower's merlins. As soon as I became visible, a cheer unlike anything I'd heard since my time in Thedas rolled across the open field. It took a few minutes for the cheers to die down before I could finally speak. Ironborn, I called out, I failed you. I believed you safe and secure after I had taken the Iron Throne. I had neither the belief or the foresight that anything could threaten our people. I could not imagine something so extreme happening, but I should have been more aware of what was going on. For that, I apologize. I took a moment to allow the sentiment to settle before continuing. I am still Queen of the Seven Kingdoms, but that does not mean I am no longer Ironborn, I said. And it does not mean that I do not remember what it means to be Ironborn. We have fought against and conquered the greatest threat this world has ever faced. We have fought, we have died, and we have risen again, each and every one of us. What is dead may never die. What is dead may never die, the masses shouted back with enthusiasm. I raised a fist before me. We will show the world the strength of the Ironborn. We will show it that those who control the seas control everything that their waters touch. The sight of our sails will inspire respect and deference around the world. I have burned out the last remnants of magic in this world to ensure that each and every one of you could stand here today. But that does not mean I no longer possess power. The water of the neck rose up in swirling geysers, defying gravity in accordance to my will. Thick, writhing tentacles slipped from the waters as well, swaying ominously between the geysers. I no longer had access to magic, but I still had my other abilities. We control the seas. We are guided by the drowned god. The Iron Island, the Ironborn, will become stronger than ever. We will make Essos and the lands beyond quake with our rise. My confidence was infectious. The display, awe-inspiring. What is dead may never die, I shouted. What is dead may never die, the mass of people shouted back. I want you all to leave by the end of the day, I continued. Head east. I will ensure there are boats waiting for you. Return to the Iron Island and prepare yourselves. You are going to be busy over the coming years. A great cheer went up as the excitement of the moment set in. The Ironborn began hurry and prepare for their departure as I turned to rejoin Tyrion, Alan, and the others. Time to get to work, I stated firmly. Rebuilding and preparing for the winter became everyone's top priority. The Royal Army's primary objectives during this time were assisting with rebuilding and guarding farms and roads. Winter was harsh and lasted 3 years, but Mace's work stockpiling food around the Seven Kingdoms, the Wildlings' ability and knowledge of growing crops during the winter, and the Ironborn providing fish aplenty ensured that everyone had enough food. Once the winter started to thaw, Westeros soared to life. The following years would completely reform the realm. The Ironborn retook their place as the primary transportation for goods in Westeros. I also began construction of the Westeros National Bank. Taxes, port fees, and more were all funneled into the bank. Our debt to the Iron Bank was paid off by House Lannister, and I passed laws that forbid Westeros from ever borrowing from outside nations ever again. With Tyrion's cunning, we began to offer loans and rates to undercut the Iron Bank at every turn, using the Ironborn to ensure the safety of shipments. Over time, Westeros became the dominant financial power in the world. Paved roads became the norm in Westeros, with funding for them coming directly from the bank's proceeds. Alan and I slowly introduced different aspects of modern society to Westeros to increase health, length of life, and food production. The first introduction was the hand pumps, line wells, and double-ventilated pit latrines were first. Line wells would ensure less contamination of a city or village's water supply, while the hand pump made it less work to get the water. The latrines, which were simple outhouses with ventilation and collection retainers. Using straw and ash, locals could create compost using the humanus. Engineers in King's Landing learned the process of creating the parts and installing the systems. We combated basic diseases by spreading information on how important basic hand washing was by offering simple soap recipes made from ash, water, and fat. We made diarrhea a survivable illness by introducing a basic recipe of water, salt, and honey to be taken during the illness, which would keep the body hydrated. There also the introduction of pasteurization of milk to combat milk-borne diseases and extend the shelf life of milk. Seps in each area were tasked with the creation of soap and rehydration tonics for diarrhea and instructed to offer them to the public freely, paid for by the crown. To increase food production, we issued information about crop rotation with legumes and clover to help fix soil nitrogen levels, the liming of sour fields to help increase their nutritional value to plants, and the process of composting as opposed to dumping raw manures into the fields. I created the design for the curved moldboard plow to help with more efficient plowing, simple wooden seed drill to better space seeds and reduce waste, and promoted wheelbarrows to help save on labor. With more food available, it meant that there was more to store, so the process of canning and drying foods was also introduced. I also introduced the vented cook stove, so less smoke and fuel for fires were needed. It also reduced the risk of fire spreading. Masons were taught how to create the stoves with the baffles, chimneys, chimney caps, and spark screens. This ensured that any home that could make a brick could also make a functional stove. Tyrion's favorite new product that I introduced, the printing press. Fast, uniform, and consistent printing of books, edicts, laws, and more meant that knowledge could be distributed. Every town would have a copy of Westeros's laws. News, unedited, could be sent from one corner of Westeros to another without being misinterpreted. It would bring down the cost of books significantly and allow for the higher education of Westeros's people. It also served to break the Citadel's monopoly on information. Alan ensured that each of the Citadel's books was, over time, printed en masse in his role as Master of Literacy. The printing press also allowed us to send the information about each of the other changes to every town and hamlet in the realm. It allowed for better-kept public records, allowing court precedents to become citable. Equal justice quickly followed. Schoolhouses were also quick to follow in the press's wake. Masters, who had been commanded to be sent to small towns and villages, were now also commanded to teach their students to read and write with the now consistent printing of the Westerosi alphabet. Septs and guilds also began to run evening hornbook classes for apprentices and guards. 10 years after the battle with the dead, Westeros was a completely reformed nation. We were leading the world financially, technologically, and socially. The realm was going through a renaissance and would continue to do so. Noble houses, while still in control of the lands they had lorded over, acted more like law enforcement and policy enforcement, more so than minor kings in their own little fiefdoms. The great houses were more akin to governors who ensured consistency of justice, trade, and the distribution of goods and services from the crown. I was sitting out on the balcony of our bedchambers, looking out over King's Landing. The smell of food and salt water was in the air. Thanks to considerable effort on Tyrion's part, and the ventilated latrines, kept the sewers flowing perfectly, which meant that the city no longer smelled of piss or shit. Tyrion walked out and took a seat next to me. "Admiring your work?" he asked as he sipped his glass of wine. "Our work," I corrected him. "And yes, I like to see the chimneys working and smell the food people can cook now." "It's a far cry from the city it used to be," Tyrion hummed. "You've turned Westeros into something unimaginable." It's no wonder they're calling it a golden age. I smiled as I looked out across the city. I can only hope it continues. "I still owe the realm for the trouble I caused. Not this again," Tyrion sighed. "Euron made his own choices. You saved everyone from him. Without you, Westeros would be a realm of the dead." "He was right, though," I replied. "I could have chosen different methods. I could have been honest with my brothers and tried to avoid everything that happened." "You did what you thought was best at the time," Tyrion reassured me, "and in turn, you've improved life for everyone in the Seven Kingdoms immeasurably. You should be proud, not melancholy." "You're right, of course," I shrugged. "But I still carry the guilt with me." He nodded, always happy to hear that he was right. "You should be in bed already, you know." "We have the new library to visit tomorrow." I chuckled and stood up. "You're right. Again." "I'm looking forward to that. It's something that wouldn't exist without you," Tyrion pointed out as he followed me back into our bedchamber. "It would have eventually," I replied as I slipped out of my robe. "Time would have brought these changes one way or another. I just helped to expedite the process. Perhaps," he conceded, "but everyone will remember they were because of you." "I'm just happy they're living better lives now," I mumbled as I got into bed and pulled the covers up to my shoulders and rested my head on the pillow. If he said anything after that, I wasn't sure. I drifted off to sleep with thoughts of visiting the library floating in my mind. I woke to the sight of a blue shade billowing with snapping ripples in a hot wind. I was not in my chambers, and the air was dry and hot, a far cry from the cool, humid air of the seaside.
First things first, I'ma say all the words inside my head. I'm fired up and tired of the way that things have been. Oh, ooh, the way that things have been. Oh, ooh. Second thing, second, don't you tell me what you think that I can be. I'm the one at the sail, I'm the master of my sea. Oh, ooh, the master of my sea. Oh, ooh. I was broken from a young age, taking my soak into the masses, writing my poems for the few that look at me, took to me, shook at me, feeling me, singing from heartache, from the pain, taking my message from the veins, speaking my lesson from the brain, seeing the beauty through the... Hey, you made me a believer, believer. Hey, you break me down, you build me a believer, believer. Turn your spirit to a dove, oh, ooh, your spirit up above, oh, ooh. I was choking in the crowd, building my rain up in the cloud, falling like ashes to the ground, hoping my feelings, they would drown, but they never did, ever lived, ebbing and flowing, inhibited, limited, till it broke open and rained down, it rained down like... Hey, you made me a believer. And the flames, you're the face of the future, the blood in my veins, oh, ooh, the blood in my veins, oh, ooh. But they never did, ever lived, ebbing and flowing, inhibited, limited, till it broke up when it rained down like... Hey, you made me a believer.